I spoke too soon, friend. Remember how just a little while ago I was talking about postpartum and I was saying, I think I'm in the clear? I think this was probably maybe like 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. I was saying, I just really feel like I missed the worst of it, and my doctor was like, yeah, you're probably good. Everything's fine, all of that. Okay, so maybe it's not formalized postpartum depression, but any mama who's ever had a baby, this is me, or anyone considering one, especially if you're like over 40, this is me circling back. I told you I'd keep you posted. I told you I would tell you the real. Y'all, something happened this week. I don't know what it is. Call it fifth trimester. I don't know. When I tell you every day getting out of bed was crazy. I wanted to cry. I was like, not wanted to, I was crying. I was inconsolable. If I looked at my baby, I was bawling. If I got a hug from my husband, I was bawling. If I was driving to work, I was bawling. If I was driving home, I was bawling. I mean, it was like all of the feelings. Now, I do want to throw out as a caveat, I have felt nothing like this during my entire post pregnancy journey. None whatsoever. And approaching the 5-month mark, I literally was like, There can't be like I'm good, right? I'm good." As a matter of fact, I've had like pretty like stable happiness the entire time. But when I tell you this past week was rough, rough. And because I'm over 40, and this is why what I'm saying for the ladies who are out there who are waiting a little while, I don't know if this is due to I've recently experienced a massive decrease in my breast milk production, which was due to the fact that I traveled to a different time zone because I went home for mid tinies. My middle child, if you are not up on the fam, my middle child's graduation, she's 23, and that had me on the Atlanta time zone for a couple days. And then my pumping got weird and all that. And by the time I came back, I was making like half the amount of milk. I don't know what was going on. And it's still been like this. So that major drop, I heard, was told that anytime you have a major drop in your breast milk production, that your hormones get all kaflooey. So like that could be part of it. Plus, also when you're over 40, you are in a weird window. So all my early 30s are listening to this, late 20 girls. Your body is weird. Like you can't tell. Like if you're having anything going on with your body, you can't tell if you are pregnant, if it is your period coming, if you are going through menopause, or if it's just a bad day, right? Like it is roll of the dice, girl. Like you don't know what is going on. Literally, I could be bleeding and it could be that my uterus is falling out. It could be that I'm spotting because a child is coming and it's immaculate conception. Like, I mean, at this point, it could be anything. That's like literally where it is. So I'm over here saying to myself, what is wrong with me? And the what is wrong with me, I'm like, is this like PMS? What is wrong with me? So for any of you who are familiar with like PMDD, which is like when you basically have like PMS on steroids, where it's like the darkest of dark thoughts, like I'm like, is this is what if this is because I haven't had a period in like a year and a half. I don't even know like what my body does anymore, and I don't know what the new equilibrium is. Like I have no idea because it's been so long because I had a baby and I was pregnant. So I'm over here like I don't know what's going on with my body. And everything seemed generally fine, except for the fact that I had this heaviness. So that's what I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you're feeling this, friend. I don't know if this is something you've talked about, but these times are, and I use this word in the best way, it is weird out there. It's just weird right now, right? Where it's like, okay, everything's generally okay, right? Like my kids are healthy, I have food in my fridge, I have meaningful work I do every day. I feel okay and my life is so good. Like when I say I am in love with my husband, like I am very very thankful to be married to the person I'm married to. He's having success in his career. My kids are thriving. My divorce is like behind me. I don't even hear from my ex anymore. Like it's literally, I don't know if he's still on this planet. Not wishing him ill, but just saying like that's how much he does not exist. And that is like, it's just so nice to be in a place where I really am so fully immersed in my new life because everything is just the past is really the past, right? And it's like, crazy because the heaviness that I feel, I think has something to do with like the current administration. If you follow me on threads, you already know. Okay, she's a spicy girl over there. Like I am looking at the current administration. I want to have hope for the future, but a lot of their decisions are so erratic and unpredictable that whether or not you and I feel honestly feel like no matter where you stand politically, you can agree with that, right? that you don't know what they're about to do any given day, that they don't do everything they say they will do. And sometimes they do things they said they would do that you didn't really think they were going to do. I personally believe that they were going to do everything they said they would do and worse, but other people may think differently. So for me, it's this place where it's like just the past week, I don't know if it was coupled with hormones plus maybe feeling the heaviness of the world, but I just felt doomy gloomy, doomy gloomy. And I live in California. That's not supposed, we pay extra taxes. It's expensive here. I want to talk to management. Like it should not feel like that. And it all kind of culminated with me going into work. So it started off, with Sunday Scaries. If you don't know what Sunday Scaries are when you kind of go to bed and you're dreading the work week, where you're saying to yourself, gosh, I just don't want to go to work. I just want to stay home. I just want to lay. I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. So I started having Sunday Scaries, and my Sunday Scaries now are coupled with not wanting to leave my baby. I did have not been one of those moms who never wants to leave home. I love being with my baby. I am so grateful to be a mom. I'm so thankful that we have full-time 24/7 help in our home. Like I have all the things. I'm so grateful. However, I'm also the person who loves their job, who loves having a date night with their husband, and I'm okay being away from my baby. Now, for an extended period of time, not too much, right? Like I do need, if I go too long, I do get the itch, right? Y'all, that feel lasted maybe a good 3 months. We are now at the point where I cry leaving. Like by the time I make it out of my front door and hit the handle on my door to get in, I am in tears. That's how bad I don't wanna leave my baby. I want to know every single thing about her. What did she do? How did she laugh? How much did she eat? What was the thickness of her poo? I don't know what switch flipped in my head, and I know that there's some mamas listening to this right now that are like, "Girl, this is normal." Right? Like, there's in relation to my baby alone, I want to be the only person doing everything for her. I wanna be there for every moment. I don't care if I have help. I'm her mom. I wanna be the person, right? It's even making me teary just to think about it. And it feels like a violation, right? A disrespect to society that I have to work. Like, and I know that sounds crazy because we have to work to make money. We work and work is meaningful and all that. But when I tell you, it's like, I just literally am like, I have a baby. How dare you ask me to pay bills? I have a baby. How dare you ask me to be responsible right now? I should not have to do anything but be with my baby. Do you not know I have a baby? Like, that's how I feel. So it's like, it's heavy right now on just that energy. But when I say fifth trimester, there's this other thing that's kind of insidious that's kind of seeping in, and I'm gonna describe it the best I can because I want you to know this is a very honest thing. I'm far enough away from delivery that if you talk to me, saw me, you know, were around me, you would think, "Oh, she's healthy, she's recovered, she's good," and I'm aware that that's what people see. I'm aware that, for the most part, I think my body feels good, although I keep hearing from other moms, and multi-moms, who've done this, that they're like, "Oh, girl, you think you're okay, and you'll in, like, 6 months from now, you'll realize how not okay you are." But, like, I feel okay, my brain is telling me I am, and y'all, like, I'm putting so much pressure on myself, so much pressure. And I say this out loud because I know it's not good, and I'm hoping someone hearing it, either if you're in the situation now or about to deliver or planning on being in this situation, so much pressure on myself. I'm like, "Look, I'm at the 6-month mark, girl. Like, can you even call this postpartum? Can you even? Why haven't you written like 8 books by now? Why aren't you out there, like, pitching every gig, going to every speaking engagement, knowing good and gosh darn well that every time I get on a plane, I'm like, "I hate everything. I wanna be back with my baby," right? But I'm also super excited to be able to go to that thing and do whatever. So, like, this past week, I was in New York City. I went to an incredible event hosted by one of my really good friends, Encore Nicole. He, is the former CEO of Teachable. He exited for 250 million and then opened up his second company called Carry, which is a financial company that supports entrepreneurs. And it's a brilliant company. He's doing amazing work, but he held an event called the OOO Summit, which doesn't stand for out of office. It stands for owners, operators, and outliers. But everyone calls it out of office summit, which is kind of clever because you're out of office. But it was great because I got to basically fly to New York and hang out with like people just like me. And I also got to look at some companies that are, in fundraising rounds and just do all the stuff I like, talk entrepreneurship, meet with founders, and everybody this feel old, right? Because all these kids were like, between 25 and like early 30s, and they're just so hopeful and doe-eyed. And I'm like, oh, I can tell the world hasn't gotten to you yet. But it was so nice. It was invigorating, right? It was like, this is so amazing. Like it just fed my soul. And I was also one of the keynote speakers. So I got to speak on the $0 startup, how to mind your margins to millions, basically how to build while watching your overhead and not spending too much. Cause this is what I do, in order to generate as much money as possible. And it was just really fun sort of being out there, no kids, no husband, no anything, just flying to New York, being in the city, eating great food, getting dinner with a couple of people that I know in town, and then obviously speaking again on stage, which is always incredible, and then mixing and mingling for a couple hours. So again, fed my extrovert mama business girl soul in every way, shape, or form, and it's a massive privilege that I even get to do this. Like it is never lost on me that I have one of the most incredible, magnetic, wild bananas lives that you could ever dream of, right? I also wanted to cancel attending right down to after going through security. The strongest moment I felt was going through security after TSA. Immediately on the other side, I was like, is it too late to go home? Can I cancel this? Maybe I could just go be with my baby. Like, that is how strong the pull is. So I know some of that's just hormonal, but then there's also "But Nicole, like, why aren't you working?" So I say all of this to let you know that, like, all of that culminated in, Monday and Tuesday. I had a fairly high profile client come into office for what I call my VIP days. VIP days are basically whenever someone wants to book one-on-one time with me, where we are going to, fully dissect a business strategy and a business plan. I build the plan in advance. They come in office. I sit with them. We dissect the plan. We figure out vendors, takeaways, all the steps. We also look at financials. What's your business doing now? What is it projected to do? Where can we cut? Where can we save? Where can we grow? Right. So that's what I do. It's old school consulting, but it's highly effective and highly profitable. And so I have VIP clients that will come in for that service. And they're anyone from, a doctor, right, who's doing really well for themselves and maybe wants to grow new practices, a restaurateur who wants to, open more franchises, or I have celebrity clients, who have high visibility. So this client in particular is, without giving away too much, directly connected to a very, very, very prominent speaker, is the way I'll describe them. So she was in office and, and she's building her own sort of breakout brand. And we were working on that for the, 2 days. So I was super excited because I'd worked on her content. I've done case study research. Like, I did a lot of the old, but it was nice. I was in my consulting bag. So I had like this 30-page core brand philosophy, financials, like all the good stuff, right? And I had the Sunday Scaries because I was like, I don't want to leave my baby, but I also had the Sunday, good nerves, butterflies, because I was super excited about going in with this client. And when I get in there on Monday, it was like I was in the zone, right? I was on fire. For those of you who don't know or who have ever worked with like consultants, or you even put me into the bucket of like your standard internet consultant or coach or digital mentor, even though I'm able to reach people digitally, that's not what I do. Like I'm, a brick and mortar consultant. I'm, you can check my LinkedIn, I'm trained and qualified in this, and I'm really good at what I do. Like it's kind of like asking Serena if she's good at tennis. Like I'm good at consulting. I'm very good at making people money. I'm great at business work and I'm great at saving businesses. Like that is part of my craft. And it's always exciting to sit down with clients or to provide that mentorship and training and consultative support, because I know what the hell I'm talking about. And I get to see their eyes light up at the possibilities, and I love hearing their wins. Yeah, especially in this economy, when I have clients that are coming back telling me they made $100,000, when they made 50,000, when they closed a contract, where they opened up a business, where they renegotiated a lease, whatever, it fills my soul. And it felt so good on Monday and Tuesday to work with this client and like know that I was right on the money. Like I was on fire, right? Well, on Wednesday, I had to cancel my Wednesday morning call. I had like a touch base call with a client, a 2-hour one, and I had to cancel it because when I left the house, I was crying, talking about, how I just don't know if I'm doing enough. I'm disappointed in myself. I don't feel enough for anything. Like I don't feel enough like to engage and network and pitch and sell, which is a huge aspect of your work. I tell my clients all the time, you're eating off what you did 3 months prior. So I was like, I don't feel enough, like I'm putting in enough effort in just the growth of my business. I don't feel like I'm doing enough with just, seeing my kids. Like I wake up and they're headed out the door for school. I come home and they're already headed to bed, and at least that's what the past 2 days had been. And I was just off, and getting out the door, I was so sluggish. I was dragging my feet. God bless my husband. He like made me breakfast and he's, get me into the car and he's like, "Are you okay?" And oh, and also my back hurt. So that's the other part that, I'm just throwing out there for my 40 somethings and my, late stage moms. Um your core needs to get its muscles back, right, after having a baby, which means that you're, like, more inclined to, like, pull muscles and things like that. So, like, I think I pulled a muscle in my back and my back hurts. So it's like, and also being over 40, right, maybe I just slept funny, whatever, it just is what it is at this age. But, it's just like I was feeling like trash, but, I still took my breakfast that Alex made me, and I took my coffee, and I got in the car, and I, you know, got to the office, and I was on time, I did everything, but I was a little sluggish, and I got there and I just called my admin, my assistant, and I said, "I can't do it." I was like, "I don't think I got it." I was like, "I'm crying inconsolably. I can't clean myself up enough to bring my best to my client. I'm gonna need to reschedule this call because I just don't have it right now." And, my assistant was actually really glad. She was like, "Yeah, I could tell, that you weren't all the way together." And I take my work so seriously, that it was just really, it was nice to hear that support of like, "Yeah, this is rare for you and, like, you are clearly in something." And I was like, "I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna go home. Like, I'm just gonna go home. I can take my afternoon calls from there. I just need to go home and, like, go slow." And I did exactly that, and I took my afternoon call from home, and, and I hope that this is sort of a, I know some of my clients who listen to this or who watch my content or people who, work with me in any capacity, you don't see this side showing up in your meetings and in your calls. And I'm really proud of that, because it is important to me to be able to do my work. And I say proud of that not in the context of I hide how I feel, but I'm glad that I'm able to show up and still serve the way I do. But it's also, I hope, an example of you never know what everyone's going through, and that you also are seen in your ability to show up for your kids and for everyone else. And long story long, I finished my calls for that day on Wednesday, and I decided I was gonna work from home the rest of the week, and then I just went out to dinner, with Puffin, my 13-year-old Allie. I went out with her, and I just let her talk. I just let her tell me everything. Like, I just was like, "Tell me what's going on with you and your day," and then the next day, I did the same thing. I worked from home, and then we went out, and we got dinner together, and I fed my baby and I put her to bed. And when she fell asleep, instead of putting her right into her bassinet, I held her for 2 hours. And then, each day I woke up a little earlier so I could walk with my husband to, take the dogs out, and just walk with him. And we used to do that every single morning, but because I was getting out so quickly for work, and it all boiled down to me realizing that, and I feel much better now, I feel much, much better. And it all boiled down to me realizing that I don't know if it's a postpartum thing or if it's an over 40 thing or if it's just a Nicole thing, but I think I've started in my post-divorce life that's aware of wellness, healing phase, that I've been on this journey for the past couple of years. I've actually started building a routine because I like the life I'm in. And the life that I was living before was so based on survival and escapism. Let me escape through an experience, let me escape through work, let me escape and just not have to be in the space where I'm clearly living amongst and confronting the stress of my circumstance. I have a life that I want to be in now and a life that I love so much, and I built routine around that life, waking up and making my husband breakfast and going on the dog walk together, then, kissing my baby and giving her love, and then going to work, and then, coming back at a reasonable enough hour to meet my baby as she gets off the bus, and then making dinner with her together, and then spending time and doing a feed with my baby for a couple hours. Like I have this little routine that I live and I've been following, and that is so nurturing to my spirit that when I stepped out of it and into the way that I used to live, for about 5 days where I was traveling and on the road constantly and working 12 to 15-hour days. I mean, I was leaving at 7 and getting back at 10:30. Um, that's just not me anymore. It just isn't. And I started feeling a lot less heavy when I acknowledged that even if my hormones had to go kerflooey, even if my body had to sob and break and feel difficult and all that, I put myself through a little bit of a test, and the things that you've heard me talk about, healing, the changes, the new relationship, the new baby, all of that, like, it's sticking, it's stuck, and when I step out of it, I am different and I feel it, and I'm really proud of me for that. And I hope you're proud of yourself too. If you find yourself entering old circumstances and old places and it just doesn't fit anymore, right down to visiting your parents and you're just like, what are these people talking about? Like you are able to acknowledge that some of the things they're saying are either unhealthy or inappropriate for the circumstance is because you've changed and it's sticking. If you're hanging out with your friends and they want to do things that just seem weird, or unhealthy or don't suit you, it's because you've changed. And like that is good. That is good and that is great. And if your body's responding that through tears or through fears or, through stress, that initial response of like, "Oh my gosh, what is happening?" Is normal. But then when you go back and explore kind of how did I get where I was, I really hope that you take some time to give yourself credit, you know, around the growth that you've made. And I'm in what I like to call the fifth trimester, where it is you are far enough out from postpartum, but you're not all the way there and you're taking on a little more than you took on before, but your baby needs you in whole new ways. And I'm navigating, and it has its highs and its lows. But above all else, I'm so thankful to the me that made the changes that were required so that I can show up the way that I'm showing up today. And I hope you're thankful for you too.